Hello there everyone. So today we're going to be looking at February's Dollar Bead Box. So let's just get right into it here. Now they do send me these every month to have a look at and also share with you. You can actually see what's inside, and I do really like looking at them because there's always things that I haven't really worked with before. So let's have a look. And also I just want to mention that I'm just trying something a little different. I've kind of ditched the face cam because I kind of thought it's more important really to see what's in here and just don't want to get the face cam in the way. So I'm just going to start here with the bag. Oop, turning it around a little bit premature. So anyway, let's have a look. We've got the paperwork like normal. Then, oh, this looks interesting. Oh my. And we have our 8 strands, so we always get the 4 3mm strands and 4 4mm strands. This, I'll be honest, is looking very interesting. So let's just have a little bit of a closer look here. So let's start from the very top of the list. Now we got the 3mm strands first of all, that's all these ones. So first we have half antique brass, half antique copper. So I'm guessing it's got to be this one. It's kind of a mix, then half antique brass, half antique copper. So I'm thinking it's got to be this because that's kind of the look that it seems to have. Very kind of brass-like and coppery-like. Very metallic and very sparkly. It's got different tones in it. There's like some red tones, some green tones. It's very interesting. And very sparkly, like I said. That's for sure. It'll add sparkle to anything that you add that to. Then mint green AB. It's got to be this one. That lighter green, obviously the mint. And then it also has an AB coating. So you get the extra sparkle. Nice and delicate. Always nice. And then metallic pearlized purple. Sounds a bit different, the pearlized bit. So obviously we've got purple here, which metallic coatings are always one of my favorites, and especially the purple, because obviously that's my favorite color. And this is, so that pearlized, it's a bit of a different description. So it's a bit of a different metallic coating than usual. It's not a bright purple, it's more, I kind of want to say a muted purple, but very sparkly still. Then the last one, deep rose luster, and obviously that's this one. So this seems like something we got in a previous box, but I'm pretty sure they were 4mm, so basically the same bead but in 2 different sizes. I always think that's really nice. They are very delicate, and actually I'm thinking that pink one and that green one go really well together, and they're really summery, I think, which, to be fair, it won't be long until we're probably going to be moving into summer. Even though right now it doesn't feel like it. They're really nice. Nice and delicate. Anyway, moving on to the 4mm ones. Teal half metallic lumi. Teal half metallic lumi. Let me just see here. I wonder if it's this one. I think it must be this one with the teal. So the teal colour, that blue. And then because that half metallic, you can see you have some places where it's kind of the bead, a bit clearness to it, but then it's half coated with the metallic. Again, very sparkly. So it has like this kind of teal, I want to say undertone in the bead itself, but then obviously the actual metallic coating has also got that kind of teal look to it. There's a lot of metallic stuff in here that's really nice. And then we have fern green half copper. So green, I'm thinking this, and then half copper. Sounds perfect for this one. That is a very rich green. Now there's been something, I think, similar to this before, but it's been a different kind of green. And this is definitely a very different impression for this, because it's a very rich and deep green. And then that half copper coating on them, it goes really well together. I've really come to like the half-coated beads. There's just something very different about them. Instead of only having the colour or only having the metallic, it's a mix of both worlds, which is really nice actually. And metallic, the different metallic colours go really well with a lot of different colors, so it's actually nice to have it in the beads themselves. So I'm very pleased with them, the half-coated ones. Then Tanzanite vitriol, Tanzanite, so it's got to be this one. That kind of blue color to it, and then that vitriol, it's kind of like metallic rainbow pat coating to it, because you can see again we have the base color of the beads in some places, and then we have that vitriol coating in other places. So very interesting mix again. A lot of metallics in this, I like that. Raspberry copper is the last one. So it's got to be this pink one. It's like a raspberry base color, and it has kind of a copper hint to it. So that's interesting, nice and delicate. And again, this will easily go with some of the other strands, even the smaller sizes. Or maybe this one. They actually go nice together. But yeah, it has like a light coating of that copper effect, which is different and quite interesting. It's not a full-on metallic coating, say like this one. It's kind of a lot more subtle. So yeah, that's different. So those are all the strands in the bag here. Now let's just put them away for now and move on to the box itself. So we have the paperwork first of all. We've got the little introduction there, talking a bit about it's February, and apparently there's a Tuscan gem and mineral show. Not entirely sure where that is. Obviously I'm assuming somewhere in America, but talking a little bit about it. And then on the back we always have the contents basically. So let's get it out of the box. Getting a little snake peek. Right, get the box out of the way, and then just get this tissue paper so it doesn't make too much noise. So I'm gonna just separate these fairly quickly, actually, easily. And then let's look at the strands first, because that's also what we have here first of all. There's some interesting things here. Right. Let's just zoom in a little bit so we can have a closer look. So it looks like we have a few strands of some very small beads, which is always interesting to me because I do like my small beads. But first of all, we have 2mm, so very tiny, checker glass pearls, mystic purple. That's gotta be these ones, the very smallest ones, tiny little beads in purple. Lovely. It's completely opaque, so it's just a nice even coat of purple on these beads. And it looks like as well, we then have 3mm checker glass pearls in mystic purple. So the same, but the size bigger. So that's these. And I'm pretty sure, again, I don't remember if it was the last box or the box before that, there were actually these beads as well, but I'm pretty sure they were 4mm. So obviously if you have multiple boxes and you get the subscription, you kind of get the different sizes. It's nice sometimes when they put different sizes of the same bead in the box or the bag itself, but obviously sometimes it's over multiple boxes. But these, brilliant for putting in something together where it's the same bead but different sizes, or using for different things but making sets, for instance. The smaller beads could be used for rings, maybe the larger ones for braces or something, all depending what you want to do. But purple, always nice. Can never go wrong with purple in my book. Then we have some other 3mm ones. Checker glass pearls, navy blue. So basically like the larger ones of the purple, but in a very deep and dark navy blue. It's almost like a black, but with a blue tone to it. It's very dark. So basically that will go with everything as well, I feel. And then we have some 8x12mm checker glass tabular drops vitriol. So which ones are they? We have two kinds of drops. So would it be these ones or these ones? I'm guessing it's got to be these ones here. Vitriol. It sounds kind of like that colouring. So let's have a little look. It's so the drop shaped, but they're flat as well. So first of all, they're actually different on either side. We have kind of a silver on one side, silver coating, that's also textured. So actually that texture you can see is actually there in 3D as well. You can feel it. And then on the other side, we have that vitriol look, which actually it's kind of a clear bead. So that vitriol is actually on the other side of the silver coating on this side of the bead, but you can see it through the clear bead. And there we get the different ones. So basically each bead is different as well. I always like kind of multicolored things and rainbow colored things and effects. Ooh, that one's nice. Very bright. So that's interesting. It's always nice when you kind of, it's drops, but they're flat drops, so they're different than say your typical drop shape, which is actually like what I think is the next strand. Those are kind of a 3D drop shape, where these are flat. So they're definitely quite different. So as for the next ones, they're 6x10mm checker glass drops, crystal Maria acid wash. So we kind of get that effect of that acid wash as well. Again, multicolor, but different tones. So these ones are more kind of yellowy and green, but then these are more kind of goldy, coppery, and fuchsia, purple. So that is quite nice. I really like that color combination. And again, it's metallic as well, that look to it. And it's actually not fully coated. You got parts of the beads that are a little bit clear. So they're nice. You can see that 3D shape instead of the flat ones. And then where did we get to? 8mm checker glass drugs, opaque turquoise copper wash. I'm thinking it's got to be these here because of that copper wash and opaque turquoise. So this looks a bit different. So the round beads are fairly decent size. 8mm is a really nice size, but they're kind of like the base color of the beads is an opaque turquoise, but kind of antique in itself almost. And then on top of that, we have a copper wash, which makes it even more antique looking. That's very unusual. It's quite matte feeling and looking. Definitely feels quite tactile. And the last strand we have a 7mm. That's a bit of an unusual size. It's not that often that you see that size, I think. Check fire polish, crystal metallic sapphire, or crystal metallic teal. So I'm guessing this has got to be, well, it could really be either because sapphire comes in different colors. So it could be blue sapphire, or it could be the teal. But crystal beads, so we got that clarity to them. But they then have a wash of that color and partly coated with some metallic effect to it. Nice size as well. So like I said, 7mm. If I could just kind of compare them to the 8mm. They look actually quite similar, but there's just an ever so slight difference to them, which will make a difference in the piece that you use them in. Because the more common sizes are 8mm and then 6mm, and usually the 7mm is more kind of skipped. It's not that often you see it, but then obviously we have that here, so it's right in between the two. So those are the strands from the box. Let's move right on to the additional items. So starting out from the top, let's move this up. We have checker glass drops. They are 10x20mm true purple. So again, some drops, but they sound a little bit different. Obviously the size is different. 2 pieces. It's got to be these ones. So they are actually really quite sizable. That is a lovely purple as well. Very rich purple. So this is a drop where also the hole goes right from the top down to the bottom, instead of quite often with drops they go through the top but sideways, and these ones go down through, so that's different, which gives obviously different opportunities for what you can do with them. A lovely purple, and two, so you could always kind of put them in earrings and be a nice set of earrings. Then we have 9mm pewter filigree bead caps, antique brass. So I think that should be these ones. So bead caps are obviously kind of a decorative piece you can put on your beads where the holes are, and just add a little bit more decoration to them. So they have an intricate design there on one side and a pretty large hole, so you can get quite a bit through there where there's a thick wire or cord. Definitely that antique brass colour. Then next we have 17 by 22mm checker glass bumblebee, opaque with gold wash. A bumblebee. Oh, right, okay, it must be this one. I did kind of just glance at this, but I didn't realise it was a bumblebee. Ah, okay. So quite a large bead, so 17 by 22mm, pretty large. An oval shape, a flat as well, and it's double-sided, which I always think is nice for any bead really. So it doesn't matter how you use it, in the sense that if it flips around when you wear it, you still have the design both sides, and you have the hole going from basically one end to the other. So it's a base of white, the opaque white is the bead itself, and then the gold wash is what emphasizes that bumblebee design. That's definitely different, and it'll be a feature piece, that's for sure, with the size of it. Then we have 22 by 24mm dragonfly, antique brass, dragonfly. That's got to be this one, antique brass. So another kind of finding piece. Got a nice intricate design there on the wings, and let's see, it is double-sided. Lovely. So really this could just be a charm in itself. Pretty sizable one, and again it's that antique brass like the other ones, so they would go with each other. Then next we have 14mm checker glass flower, lavender opal. 2 pieces, checker glass flower, lavender opal, lavender. So flowers and lavender opal, I'm guessing these are obviously flowers, I'm guessing then the colour, that lavender. So we have 2 of these, and they're cute little flowers, one side and the other side, also double-sided. Lovely. And we have hole, is that there? Yeah, it is. So going from, oh, it's got 6 petals, so it's going from between 2 petals to the opposite side between the other 2 petals. It's kind of like a lavender base, and it's got almost like a red coppery wash to it to make that flower design stand out more. Get that back in here with its mate. Again, 2 of them. Always make a nice pair of cute little earrings. Then moving further down, next one is 9mm checker glass flower, red opal, and there's 8 of them. So that's got to be these ones here. I saw them. That is bright red, that's for sure. So just checker glass flower, 9mm ones. Let's have a little look. Get a couple of them out. So little flowers again. And they also look to have 6 petals here. These ones, I think actually the hole is in the very middle. So they're flat still, kind of, obviously they're 3D, but like flat flowers. But then instead of going from one side to the other, like the ones I just showed you, these ones have holes basically in the very center of the flower. So they could be used in a very different way than the other ones we just looked at. And there was, what was there? 8 of them. So you could kind of use a bead or a head pin or something to attach these to something, but going through the middle, and then that would become the center of the flower. Anyway, moving on to the next one. We have 10mm pewter flat round with geometric design. 3 pieces. What would that be then? I think it's got to be these ones because there's 3. So again, this is a metallic piece or pieces. So they are, I would still call them beads because obviously they're kind of a piece with then holes in, or a hole in each. And they kind of got a different shape. They're round and then flat, but if you look from the side, they're kind of almost, on the sides they're squished a little bit, if that comes across. And then that hole, pretty nice actually. Very different design, geometric. Be nice in some Art Deco piece or something. Anyway, next one is 6x10mm pewter cone. Cone. You get this 2. There's got to be these ones. Again, they are then that silver like the ones we just had. So we had antique brass, and then we have some, well, antique silver really pieces now. So cones. So it is a big hole. They could almost be a little bit like bead caps, because that other end is very large. So you could, if it wasn't too large, the bead, it could kind of go in there, or it could kind of just go over the side of it. But they're definitely little cones, almost like there's a little animal from there, like a little owl or something, but probably just a design. Definitely different. 2 of them. Then what do we have? Where have we got to? 5mm. Again, that's a bit of an unusual size, the same as the strands up here, where it was the 7mm. Usually it's more the 6mm or the 4mm. That's more common, where this is actually 5. So Checkerlass Drux, and it's garnet. 24 pieces, it's got to be these. Actually, at first look, I thought they were black, but I can see that now. Garnet. It's like a very deep, rich, kind of wine red. And obviously sometimes it's darker than others, but let's see how well it comes across. But it kind of comes across black, but it has that richness, like a wine red to it. So that's nice, instead of just being pure black, which is obviously nice as well because that goes with everything, but it's a bit more of a different color. A nice different size to use. Then we're almost at the end. We have 18mm check glass fluted coin. Fluted coin, that sounds interesting. Beige opal, 2 pieces. So it's got to be these ones out of the 2 we got left. So I'm guessing that fluted refers to the kind of shape here that we have, because it's a coin, kind of a flat coin, but it's got this wavy shape on both sides. And we have the hole coming through there from one side to the other. Well, that's different. Very different shape, that's for sure. And what were they? 18mm, quite large. And then we've reached the last one, 22mm stamped disc. I was going to say stampede. Stamped disc, brass, 1 piece. So it's a brass stamped disc, but this has definitely got a gold coating. Oh, that actually feels more substantial than I thought. It looked really thin, which it is thin. You can see it's quite thin there, but it feels just more substantial than I expected it to, so that's always nice. Got a nice leaf design there on that one side, and then the gold coating, and flipping it, it's just basically flat. There's nothing on this side, and then you got 1 hole on either side there, so you could kind of put something through on either side and then use that and work from there, from the holes, and you have that nice leaf design. and pretty large as well, so that would definitely be a feature in whatever piece. So that's the whole list here. So this is everything that was in this month's dollar bead box. So the additional items here and some of the strands, and also the bag is these 3 and 4mm strands here. So just a bit of an overview. We have a few findings, not loads, which is fine. It's more kind of some charms and some bead caps on that, and obviously the beads themselves. And then there's a few flower beads, which is interesting, some different kinds. I do quite like these drops, a very rich purple, which is always a plus for me. So it'd be cute trying to kind of do something with these, I think. And I do like these drops as well, different kinds of drops. The colours are right up my alley. So it's just a matter of maybe being able to do something with them. Obviously strands are always usable. Now, all the strands from the bag, so the 3 and 4mm ones, I actually really like all of them, especially the metallic ones. And there's some different ones in here that I've seen before. Kind of the combination of colours and metallic coatings. So that's very interesting. And also those kind of garnet colour beads there are quite nice instead of just having like plain black ones. So actually looking at it here, I'm kind of thinking these flower beads, they're pretty cute how they are, and that red colour is quite nice. It's pretty bright. I'm thinking do something where you use them as flowers in a piece, and then maybe these along with them, like alongside them, throughout the piece. And they kind of remind me a little bit of berries, so kind of combining flowers and berries. But that's just kind of some thoughts playing around in my head. Overall, I'm really liking the strands here, and there's a couple of these I can probably see myself using, so we'll see. I'm gonna have to try and play around with some of this and see what I come up with. Now, I'd love to hear if there's anything that stands out to you, maybe something that you know that you would use or that you haven't seen before, so let me know that in the comments down below. Otherwise, I'm going to play around with these materials here, try and come up with some things, and then if you want to see what that's going to be, make sure you stay tuned. So I've now spent some time here on playing around with the materials from the box and the bag, and this time I really did kind of just play around with the materials because first of all, I got a couple of new tools that I wanted to try and use, and then also some of the materials I wanted to try and kind of play around using them in a little bit of a different way than I normally would, so a little bit less of an obvious way. So to begin with, the first thing I made was this necklace here. So this is using a wire knitting spool, and this is the tool that I'm talking about. I already had some of these, and I've previously done a video where I kind of had a little haul of ones I got, but I got some new ones because I found some that I kind of like the look of a little bit more. The ones I already have look like this, and they're nice and fine the way they are, but what I was kind of finding when I was using these was that the prongs up here, because of the way that these are made, obviously it's this kind of U-shape, upside down U-shape, they're very large, and it didn't quite have the effect that I wanted when using wire with the spools. So what I managed to find was, I really like this though, the kind of acrylic part of it, and obviously they are metal prongs. I found these instead. You can see same principle, but the prongs are different. So they're basically just a stick with a ball on the end, which is the part where the wire doesn't just slip off. So it's not as big. So the result I found since using these, now that I then played around with them, I actually like these a lot more than the other ones. So just see the difference. That's the larger one. These are both 4 prongs. You can see very clearly the difference there between them. So quite wide. And obviously when it's wide, it's a lot less forgiving than when you're using fibre or something. Whereas these ones here are a lot more narrow. So that's one thing I wanted to play around with, was trying to use these ones as opposed to the ones I already had. So this one here, this necklace, I made using this 4-prong one. And the beads that I used, and I used all of them up the whole strand, so I can't show you anything left on the strand, but the ones that I used were the 7mm check fire polish, crystal metallic sapphire, or crystal metallic teal. So I used the whole strand, like I said, and this is actually a really nice size, and I really like the way that this turned out, because I really like the effect now that this has gotten from this newly found wire knitting spool. Much prefer those prongs. So I like that part, but I really like how the beads blend in nicely with it as well. So I'm really quite happy with that, and they really add a lovely sparkle. In a way, it's quite subtle because of the colour, but obviously it does add a bit of colour rather than just the silver wire. And also you just get that occasional sparkle as it's kind of hanging on your neckline. So I really like how this turned out. So I'm pleased with that. So I feel the first kind of little play around that I did worked out nicely. Let's give it a little bit up close. See the lovely sparkle. And then the next play around I did was also with one of them spools, but this was the larger one because I had a little bit of an idea of a different design, and that looks like this. So again, it's kind of a braid done on the wire knitting spool there, but I've added the beads in a bit of a different way. Now it is a little bit hard to see on this because of the colours, I think, but actually what I've ended up doing is it's a spiral within the braid because of how I added the beads, and I used two different colours. Now again, I more or less used all the beads on those strands. Just to tell you which ones it was that I used, it's the 4mm ones, and it's the colours Tanzanite Vitriol and then Raspberry Copper. And I have, the only ones I have left are 2 beads of the Tanzanite one, but I used the whole strand of the other one. But then if I just kind of show you here, you can see the beads kind of inside the braid, but if you can kind of get a sense of the fact that it's actually a spiral all the way along. And again, with this, I actually really like how this ended up as well. So I'm very pleased with that. And I do really like these two colours together. They go really nicely. Makes it quite delicate and could be quite romantic as well. Those colours, I think. But I really like the movement these pieces get as well on those wire knitting spools. So I'm definitely pleased that I managed to make these, and I decided to kind of play around with, now that I found these other spools that I've ended up really liking much more than the ones I had previously. And I definitely want to work much more with this now because I'm very happy with how this turned out, and being able to then use some of the materials from this box and the bag to try it out, and then being pleased with what I ended up with. Now next, what I did was, there were several things in the box that I kind of quite liked, and I just kind of wanted to play around with them. So again, I used most of them really, and I think some of them I used up completely, so I can't show anything left on all of them. Some of them I do have a bit left, but just to kind of do an overview, I think the things that I ended up using, because I kind of just took several things out and laid them out in front of me and tried to kind of think of what I could do with them. So I ended up, I picked out, where are we? I picked out the 2 different drops here from the strands. So the check glass tabular drops, the vitriol, and then check glass drops, so kind of the flat ones with the rainbow colours, and then also the more regular shaped drops. So I picked them out. And then I picked out from the additional items, the, which ones were there? I think the 9mm check glass flowers in the red opal, and then check glass drops, I think, 5mm in the garnet. And I think that was it. And what I basically did was, because I wanted to try and do something a little bit different, like I said, challenge myself a bit, because I didn't just want to do my typical, what I usually go to when I see drops is making flowers with them, which I still did end up doing on one piece, but I wanted to also try and do something a little bit different. So what I ended up doing was kind of wanting to try and mix all those materials into one piece, more or less. I ended up doing that almost, not completely, but first of all, like I mentioned, I did make some flowers. So I used the regular shaped drops and just made some flowers. I used those red opal check glass flowers and kind of just placed them in between to fill out the space. And then some of the garnet ones, that's kind of the center of the flower. This was kind of just a little extra thing I ended up making, because I ended up deciding that these regular shape drops didn't quite go with the other kind of materials and thing that I had in mind. So just a kind of fun little, I put them on a hair clip. Can never really go wrong. Also never go wrong with making flowers out of drops, I think. So I do really like this effect and the colours on these drops. And what I ended up doing as well, by the way, is these flower beads, the red ones, instead of, like I talked about, they're kind of obvious to bring something through, then maybe add a small bead and then go back through the hole, and that bead will act as a stopper. You can do that, but what I actually ended up doing was using wire, because it's that flower bead, it's basically petals, and I kind of just went through the hole and separated the petals with the wire, so kind of accentuating the shape even more. And then that's kind of, again, something that I wouldn't normally have done. I think I was just thinking to put like a stopper bead through and it would be an obvious flower, but this is something a little bit different. So that was that first one. And I can just show you, like I said, I have one of those drop beads left, so that's not exactly a lot. Now I do have a few of those garnet beads left that I also used for the other piece here. But again, I did use a fair few, so I actually did go a fair way. Now the last piece that I did use then, oh, I forgot to mention one thing I just realized. I also used this strand. Kind of forgot about that. Which one was that? 3mm navy blue jet glass pearls. So I used a few from that strand as well for a certain purpose. Originally it's not one I picked out, it's kind of an extra one I chose, because what I ended up doing, like I said, this was just having a bit of fun, was this bracelet here. So it's a little bit colourful and it's not something I would quite normally make, but what I just wanted to try and do is mix materials together, and I just wanted to mainly try and use these flat drop beads in a bit of a different way. Instead of making just a typical flower, which would be nice, and I very easily could have done and possibly would have done, I kind of thought, why not try and use them as wings for butterflies or something like that. So I made a few of them. The basic bracelet here is actually a 4-strand braid, and I incorporated them into it along the way. And then I added more of those red flower beads in the same manner, so doing that same technique, and also those garnet beads kind of in between them too, a little bit as flowers and berries in between the butterflies. But then I used those blue small tiny beads for the bodies of the butterflies there. So it's just a little bit of fun. I was playing around with it, see if I could kind of use some of the materials in a little bit of a different way, and I do think that worked out. Kind of experimented with, because they are actually obvious wings as well, these kinds of beads. I think it's just more obvious for me to use them for flowers, but and obviously doing something a bit different with those beads as well. So just a bit of a fun piece. And regarding those flat drops, I have 3 of them left, so not quite enough to make a flower, but that's then a little bracelet that I made as well, quite colourful like I said. But we are going into summer soon, aren't we? Won't be too far away anyway. So these are the things I ended up making this time around. So again, like I said, just having a bit of fun, mixing some things together. Now the things I'm most pleased with are these necklaces here, so the wire knitting spool pieces, and I really like how the beads function with that wire as well. So I'm definitely going to be working more with that. But thank you so much to Dollar Bead Box for sending this to me to give it a try and have a little play. And also thank you to you for watching it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video.